Hey guys, right, just before this video starts, I want to say a massive thank you to Ian Timms, who is my first ever patron. Thank you so much, mate. You are a legend. Like, you have no idea how much it can help somebody. Something as simple as a patron pledge can help a content creator. Like hardware, like equipment, software, the time that's spent editing videos, like certainly to the quality that I like to put videos out at, it takes anywhere between 4, 8, sometimes 10 hours depending on the video, and so it's basically a full day's work at that point, which yeah, it really does help when people are supporting. So obviously last season there were some very special moments in the vlogs, but the actual vlogs that I was able to produce from a financial standpoint were, to be honest, quite few and far between, because I just couldn't really justify spending the money on travel, making sure that I had all the correct equipment and all that kind of stuff. And before anyone asks, I don't actually get free away tickets for Charlton from Charlton unless I'm actually doing something specifically for their channel. So yeah, that's the situation. And especially now we're in the Championship, there's just some like brilliant away days that I would love to go to and basically film them and produce a vlog next season, because it's going to be a very difficult but a very good season and some brilliant away days in there. So if you do want to help me keep creating the vlogs, the away day vlogs, the videos in general really on the channel next season, then you can donate by visiting the Patreon link, which I believe will be at the top of the description, and you can help me achieve my first goal and target of, let's say, 5 patrons, which, yeah, I'm just trying to work out mathematically, should realistically enable me to be able to produce a vlog once a month in the season. I would say probably, yeah, 1 game a season, 1 game a month, I mean. So at the moment, the perks that I'm offering on Patreon are early access to videos, shout outs at the beginning of a video as well, and also I've got one in there where you can play me at FIFA. We can even jump in Discord. If you think you can smash me, mate, come and have a go, do you know what I mean? But I can't think of any, there's not too many ideas other than that flooding to me. So if you do have any ideas for other perks that I could offer, maybe if you're interested in receiving a perk, then do let me know in the comments. But other than that, guys, thank you so much to Ian, and thank you for listening to me explain the situation. Let's get into the video now. Sweet. It's time to reflect on what turned out to be a tremendously successful campaign for the Addicts after the season ended in glory at Wembley. But it wasn't all glamour and success throughout the entire season. Let's go back to our first game of the 18-19 campaign. League favourite Sunderland nicked the 3 points from Charlton in the 96th minute of the opening day game in a 2-1 victory at the Stadium of Light. Charlton had taken an early lead through new signing Lyle Taylor, who had recently rejected the Black Cats for a move to Charlton, before Madja and Gooch completed the comeback. Looking at that now, of course, it makes our 95th minute winner at Wembley even more poetic, as the season went full circle with an almost identical reverse situation happening on the very last day of the season at Wembley when it mattered most. Charlton only took a squad of 16 to Sunderland that day, with 3 of the 5 named substitutes being youth players with practically no first team experience. Lapsley, Phillips and Grant all started the game as well, and were all considered to be youth players at this time. Phillips and Grant were hoped to have breakthrough seasons, whereas Lapsley, being slightly newer to the Charlton first team, was a bit of a wild card at the time. But we didn't have much choice. Luckily for us, all 3 would go on to have good respective seasons for us. What this really resembled was a lack of proper investment into the squad ahead of the season. The fan base largely felt we were underprepared for the season, but eagerly watched on as a determined Lee Bowyer continuously told us how good the players at the Valley were, and focused on what we did have, as fans understandably found it difficult not to focus on what we didn't have. After the Sunderland game, we managed to find a replacement for Jake Forster-Caskey, who was ruled out for the season just before it began. To fans' excitement, Josh Cullen arrived in Charlton for the season, a young Irish midfielder from West Ham who had already had decent spells for Bradford and Bolton. And what an important player he would turn out to be. Christian Bilic also arrived on loan from Arsenal, a young Polish defender who was highly rated. Keeper Jed Steer also arrived on loan from Aston Villa to provide competition for Dylan Phillips. As the transfer window slammed shut, Charlton's squad was still several players short, notably a striker, winger, left back, and perhaps also a centre mid short of what it should be. As the opening weeks of the season rolled on, it looked like mid-table was the area in which we would hover for the season. Bowyer decided to implement a narrow 4-1-2-1-2 formation, which began working very well for us. We had George Lapsley and Albie Morgan coming through into the first team who were playing very well, and Bowyer began getting the best out of Cullen, Pratley, Aribo and Bielik in this newfound diamond shape as well. Ben Reeves could also slot in nicely, but players like Marshall and Tariq Fosu found it slightly more difficult. They were always an option off the bench if we needed to change things up, but unfortunately they didn't get a whole lot of game time. As well as our midfield diamond working nicely, another thing that fans began to realise is that Lyle Taylor and Colin Grant up front was a lethal combination. The pair of them kept scoring and assisting each other, and that in turn was winning us games. At the back, a brief injury to Jason Pearce allowed Naby Sarr to step in. Sarr's career at the Valley hadn't started off on the best of terms, mainly as he was young and unproven in England and was dished a 5-year contract during what I call the network era. He always looked like he could be a good player, but the odd mistake in crucial moments had left a sour taste in the mouths of some Addicts fans. But people were starting to see good, hard-working performances from him under Carl Robinson in the previous season and seemed fairly confident that he would do a good job stepping in. As it turned out, Naby would go on to make the left-sided centre-back position his own, playing so well that he was keeping fan favourite Jason Pearce out of the team when he did return from injury. When January came around, the Charlton fan base were generally pretty gutted when it came to fruition that we would be losing our 14-goal scorer, Carl Grant, to Premier League Huddersfield Town. His partnership with Lyle Taylor was a massive part of us being in and around the top 6. Some people suggested that he may as well stay because we'd both be in the same league next season anyway, but that would have been a gamble for Colin, and the money, we think, was too good to refuse. We ended up losing our 21-year-old academy graduate striker, and he ended up scoring a further 4 goals in the Premier League that season, receiving a lot of plaudits as Huddersfield got relegated in the process. Josh Parker from Gillingham would come in to replace him on a short-term basis, and fan favourite Igor Vetekeli was returning to full fitness as well, which was a consolation. During this period, we also lost Jed Steer, who was recalled by Villa, and we brought in Chris Maxwell to replace him, who wouldn't end up getting a game due to the tremendous form of another academy graduate, Dylan Phillips. We had also recently lost one of our attacking options, Jamie Ward. We did finally, though, bring in a left back to replace the injured Lewis Page for the remainder of the season, and that came in the form of Ben Purrington. He would join us on a loan deal from Rotherham. Purrington, Maxwell and Parker signing didn't exactly exhilarate the Charlton fans, but we were eager to see how they would perform in a Charlton shirt. As it turned out, one would be a Wembley hero, another would fill a key void that Carl Grant left, supporting Lyle Taylor up front with some pretty good performances. From January onwards, it's fair to say Charlton were probably the best team in the league. Despite staying 5th, consistent pressure on the top 4 of Luton, Barnsley, Sunderland and Portsmouth would enable us to claw ourselves into 3rd place on the last day, giving us a favourable playoff semi-final draw against Doncaster. I could go on about what happened next, but as they say, the rest is history. Come on! So thank you for joining me for this little season review video, and be sure to stay tuned throughout the summer as Charlton pre-season gets underway and our transfer activity continues. Slap a big old like on this video for me and subscribe with notifications turned on. Take care and I'll see you later. Sweet.